The world woke up to an event that few could have imagined. In the early hours, explosions tore across Caracas, shattering the night sky and sending shockwaves throughout Venezuela and beyond. The United States had launched a high-stakes military operation, targeting the very heart of the Venezuelan government. By the end of the day, President Nicolás Maduro and his wife, Cilia Flores, had been captured and were being flown to New York to face trial on long-standing drug and weapons charges. The magnitude of this operation is hard to overstate. Not only were the country's top leaders removed, but the U.S. is now openly claiming responsibility for overseeing Venezuela's transition, signaling an unprecedented intervention in a sovereign nation. Hours after the operation, President Trump addressed the nation, declaring that the United States would run the country until such time that we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. The words were bold, almost cinematic. A former U.S. president laying out plans to directly govern another nation, even temporarily. Yet, despite the sweeping announcement, details remained vague. President Trump spoke of a group that would oversee Venezuela, but offered little else about what this would entail or how it would function on the ground. He did, however, make clear he was unafraid of boots on the ground, signaling that the U.S. was willing to commit personnel if necessary to secure its objectives. The situation on the ground in Venezuela is chaotic. Vice President Delcy Rodriguez, who had previously condemned the U.S. operation on state television, reportedly communicated with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and indicated she was essentially willing to do what we think is necessary. This contradictory messaging highlights the fractured nature of Venezuelan leadership, which now faces the reality that its president and first lady are in U.S. custody. Streets in Caracas remain tense, with military movements, patrols, and explosions creating an atmosphere of uncertainty and fear. Ordinary Venezuelans are left grappling with the sudden removal of the only leaders they have known, unsure who is in charge or what the future holds. The stakes extend far beyond Venezuelan borders. Venezuela sits atop nearly 17% of the world's proven oil reserves, making it one of the most strategically and economically significant countries on the planet. President Trump specifically emphasized the role of American oil companies in rebuilding and managing the country's energy infrastructure, signaling that energy security and economic leverage are central to U.S. plans. This is not just about capturing a dictator. This is about reshaping a nation's economy and asserting influence in one of the most resource-rich regions in the world. Global reactions were swift and dramatic. Allies and adversaries alike watched as U.S. forces captured a sitting head of state. Some nations condemned the operation as a blatant violation of sovereignty, warning it could destabilize the entire region and set a dangerous international precedent. Others remain cautious, waiting to see how the transition unfolds, while governments and international organizations scramble to respond diplomatically. The world is now focused on Venezuela, knowing that this operation could have ripple effects in Latin America, the global oil market, and international relations for years to come. Inside the United States, reactions are equally polarized. Supporters hail the operation as a bold move against a corrupt regime, emphasizing years of failed sanctions and diplomatic pressure. Critics warn that unilateral military action to remove a foreign leader could have unpredictable consequences, questioning the legality and morality of such a high-stakes maneuver. Lawmakers are debating whether Congress was adequately consulted, while the American public processes the reality of this historic intervention. President Trump's remarks also underscored the political and strategic layers of this operation. Beyond the immediate removal of Maduro and Flores, he framed the U.S. role as one of restoration and rebuilding, hinting at American-led reforms in governance and infrastructure. This, he argued, was not just a military mission, but a comprehensive plan to transform Venezuela into a functioning, stable, and resource-rich partner, at least temporarily under U.S. guidance. For Venezuelans, however, these assurances may offer little comfort, as the uncertainty of foreign oversight mixes with fear and anger over the sudden removal of their leaders. As night fell on Caracas, the city remained tense and uneasy. Social media and news outlets flooded with images and videos of explosions, helicopters, and heavily armed personnel moving through the streets. State media urged calm, but with the top leadership removed and U.S. forces asserting control, uncertainty reigns. The eyes of the world are watching closely, analyzing every statement, every movement, and every political maneuver. This is a moment that will define the trajectory of Venezuela for decades, and one that signals a dramatic shift in how the United States is willing to project power in the 21st century. The implications are vast. Beyond geopolitics, there are questions about international law, human rights, and the precedent being set for intervention in sovereign nations. There are economic stakes tied to oil markets and global energy supply. And most importantly, there are millions of Venezuelans who must navigate this sudden upheaval, their future uncertain and dependent on decisions made thousands of miles away. The world is witnessing history in real time. A president and his wife captured, a foreign power stepping in to govern temporarily, and a region facing shockwaves that could last for generations. As this story unfolds, one thing is undeniable. Today marks a pivotal, controversial, and historic moment in global politics. The capture of Nicolás Maduro and Cilia Flores, combined with the U.S.'s bold intervention under President Trump, is not just a headline. It's a turning point that will be analyzed, debated, and felt across the Americas and the world for years to come. For Venezuelans, Americans, and the international community, the question now is not just what will happen next, but how the consequences of this unprecedented action will reshape the balance of power, the rules of international engagement, and the very future of governance in one of the world's most strategic nations.